If I'm being honest, I'm not as hype as I thought I was going to be about this card. But whatever, we're here live real time. Please subscribe.
And he isn't scared to fight anyone.
He's had some setbacks, but now the thing about boxing is, if you can beat one of the best guys in the world, then you are one of the best guys in the world.
Oh my goodness! If you were to pick a theme for this fight, it is second chances.
For me to survive and a year later, have a fight in my hometown, this is a second chance for me and I can't let it go.
This is my second chance to become champion again. I plan on being that man come December 5th.
This is the most important fight of my life.
So basically, we're here. We're 1 day away from Errol Spence, WBC and IBF 147-pound welterweight champion, taking on Danny Garcia on PBC on Fox pay-per-view for $75. I'm not too thrilled about it myself. By the way, they both weighed in, looking in phenomenal shape. Errol Spence looks like he's been on weight for quite some time. He talked about in the buildup of the fight that basically, this was the most focused he's been in quite some time, because with the Sean Porter fight and the Mikey Garcia fight and some fights before that, he was bullshitting around and not staying on weight.
All right, fans,
Here, like the video, please subscribe. Let the fighters get on the scale. We're going to talk about it and what's possibly next.
147 pounds. First, the challenger, seeking to regain the welterweight crown in his 10th world title appearance, the former two-division world champion, Danny Swift Garcia. 146 3/4 pounds, 146 3/4 for the challenger, Danny Swift Garcia. And now, one of the stars of boxing today, in his 5th world title defense, the undefeated WBC and IBF welterweight champion of the world, the Truth, Errol Spence Jr. 146.5 pounds, 146.5 pounds for the defending champion. We have a fight for the WBC and IBF welterweight champ.
So as I was saying, I just don't have that hypeness as I would normally feel for a pay-per-view card, the Charlo pay-per-view card I was hyped for, the Tank Davis pay-per-view card I was hyped for, and some may say, though, those fights were bigger mismatches than a lot of people feel that this is. For example, we have to talk about it, even though I'm kind of sick of talking about it. Errol Spence was in an accident a year ago. Ferrari flipped where he was thrown out of it. According to Chris Mannix on his podcast, Errol Spence had 6 procedures on his mouth and teeth. A lot of people are wondering, and he's talked about it himself, is how is he going to look in there when he gets hit? What's going to be the game plan? Is he going to move around a lot? Is he going to be able to move around a lot? Yeah, he looks like he's in shape, but a lot of people have been saying in the comments that you may not know how, you really, really react in there, meaning Errol Spence, until, he gets hit. And is it too soon of a comeback? But I tell you this, I rate Danny Garcia very highly. Always have, even though a lot of people may say he hasn't done shit at 147 pounds. I get that.
You take away from that final stare down with Errol Spence Jr.?
It's time to go. The weight is done, the hard work is done. Now it's time to fight. It's time to eat and fight.
How is it going down tomorrow night on Fox Sports PBC pay-per-view against Errol Spence Jr.?
I'm bringing my A game. I'm hungry. I feel great physically, mentally, and now it's just time to go.
Good luck tomorrow, Danny.
Thank you.
Danny Swift Garcia joining us. And now I will come over to the unified welterweight champion of the world from right here in the Dallas area, Errol the Truth Spence Jr., who has an undefeated record. Errol, the last time we saw you inside the ring was over 14 months ago. You've been through a lot during the course of that year plus. How are you feeling just 1 day away until your matchup at AT&T Stadium?
I feel great. Been training hard, been 100% focused. I'm ready to go come tomorrow night.
A win over Danny Garcia tomorrow night on pay-per-view does what for your legacy?
He's a great champion, so beating somebody like Danny Garcia means a lot, but I'm not thinking about my legacy. I'm thinking about my career
And I feel like me just beating him and after my accident and beating a guy with that type of level and his type of stuff that he achieved, I think it'd just be great.
Well, good luck tomorrow, Errol.
Thank you.
Errol Spence Jr., both men are determined, both men are focused.
So yeah, you know, we're gonna see tomorrow. Now, the issue I have with covering and talking about this fight is I don't want to talk about Terrence Crawford, but how can you not talk about Terrence Crawford, current WBO former undisputed 147-pound champion? You know, we want to see him fight, but at the way things are going, it's not going to happen no time soon. Both Errol Spence, all three of them, Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, and Terrence Crawford want Manny Pacquiao. Both of them, all three of them, whoever wins between this fight, Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, you know, or Terrence Crawford, only one of them is going to get the fight. And you know what? I'm like this, like, listen, Manny Pacquiao, and I think I saw, who said it on Twitter? Somebody said it on Twitter, that Manny Pacquiao should make both of these motherfuckers fight. Like, listen, y'all want me, Errol Spence, you know, Terrence Crawford, y'all got to fight each other first. Floyd would have did some shit like that because I'm tired of it. Say what you want. I'm tired of it, man. Tired of it. So, looking at who's the winner going to fight, you know, now remember, you have to also understand this is Errol Spence's third pay-per-view. So his next fight is likely going to have to be pay-per-view. It's going to have to be a shitload of sponsors to guarantee his purse, or the fighter that he fights is not going to make a lot of money. Or, you know, it's not going to be, so you have to think, right? Is it going to be, if Errol Spence wins, because he is the favorite to win, is it going to be your Dennis Ugas, Sean Porter rematch? If it's a Sean Porter rematch, it's going to be pay-per-view again. Or Dennis Ugas, they'll fuck around. That's going to probably have to be pay-per-view. You know, his mandatory, he has pretty much 3 mandatories between Katrillo Tokaharov, excuse me if I butchered his name, Sergey Limpinets, and Castillo Clayton. The Castillo Clayton, Sergey Limpinets was supposed to be for the IBF interim because Abdul Kahorov, from my understanding, couldn't get into the States. That fight ended in a draw. So the IBF situation is all fucked up. But nonetheless, I'm going to be here tomorrow night covering the card, you know. It's just like, you know, I mean, I expect for it to be a good fight. I don't expect for Danny Garcia to get knocked out. All eyes are going to be on Errol Spence, right? We want to see how he look. You know, and I'm sorry, looking at his resume, I got to be critical of him too, because the only person in Terrence Crawford said it himself when I had to really look at it. Damn, the only real threat he really fought was Sean Porter. And now Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, Lamont Peterson was on his last legs, Cal Brook. Okay, all right, Cal Brook, Sean Porter. Boom, that's 2. But the other guys, and I cover boxing, no disrespect to Chris Algieri, but it was like, yo, Chris Algieri had nothing for Errol Spence to keep Errol Spence off of him. I was at that fight, by the way. Lamont Peterson on his last legs, he was, you know, and you can say the same thing about Danny Garcia's wins over Paulie Malignaggi and Robert Guerrero. So this is a very, very, very telling fight for both of these fighters. By the way, Errol Spence is 30 years old now. He'll be 31. These guys are not young no more. So we're going to leave it at that. The undercard, I'm not, you know, the chief support, I'm not calling it no co-feature, is Sebastian the Towering Inferno versus Habib Ahmed. It was supposed to be Jorge Cota. You got Josesito Lopez versus Francisco Santana. You may remember Josesito Lopez, you know, from breaking Victor Ortiz's jaw. Got a boot put in his ass by Canelo. I think he got a shitty stoppage loss against Andre Berto. Andre Berto went on to get the harvest against Floyd Mayweather. You got Francisco Santana, who, oh, by the way, Lopez took Thurman to hell and back. You got Francisco Santana, who fought Jared Hurd, who tried to weight bully him. You know, and that's the card. Eduardo Ramirez versus Miguel Flores. Now, I understand the politics and why the card's the way it is. I do. You know, because the guys command a lot of money. Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, especially in this day and age where you had Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones doing around 1.2 million buys last week at what, $50 a pop. You know, the casuals, you got to tell the casuals who really don't know who Errol Spence and Danny Garcia to buy this at $75 a pop. You know, can't wait to see these pay-per-view buys during a pandemic and a recession and all this shit. They sure did need those ticket sales. By the way, who's going? Let me know. If anybody's going to the fight, record some video and send it to me. We can use it on our videos later on tomorrow. Like, make sure you record in landscape, not portrait mode. Like, what's the arena looking like? There's going to be crowds all over the place. You know, like, tell me, like, I even want to know, like, what concessions is going to be. You know, how people don't get their beers and whatnot. Anyway, I'm TstreeT Controversy. Please subscribe. See you guys tomorrow night. Oh, a lot of people wonder why I can't stream or I'm not streaming. I can't because I got a copyright strike for Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones. So I won't be able to stream until that video is released sometime next week. An illegal copyright strike, by the way, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm TstreeT Controversy with FightFu360.com. We cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.